Hey, thanks for tuning in to Ocean Point Online. My name is Jeff, and if we haven't had a chance to meet ever, I'm the lead minister at Ocean Point, and I'm so glad that you chose to spend part of your day with us. If this is your first time ever tuning into anything Ocean Point related, we want to connect with you. And so what we would ask for you to do is fill out our Connect card, and how you do that digitally, how you do that virtually, is either by going to our website, or you can download the Ocean Point app and fill out the Connect card there as well. To let you know a little bit about what to expect as you watch this, we're going to have a message time, and then after that, we're going to have an opportunity for you to take communion. So if you have crackers and juice and you want to be able to do that, go ahead and get that ready so that you can be ready during that time. After communion, we'll have a time of musical worship where you can join along with us as well. Again, thank you for being a part of this, and thank you to everyone who helped donate 727 pounds of candy to make our Light the Night event this Halloween very special for the kids in our community. So again, thank you.
The first snow of the year. Like so many people, I love the snow, especially the first snow of the year, even when the first snow is in October. Growing up in Florida, I had several misconceptions about snow. Whew. One of those things was that I thought once it snowed for the first time during the season, like there was this blanket of snow that stayed there the entire winter until spring came and it all melted off. Another thing I thought was that it always snowed on Christmas. I mean, every Christmas movie I ever saw, there was snow on the ground, and growing up in Florida, I just thought, well, the only reason we don't have that is because it doesn't snow here. I also thought that once it did snow and there was that blanket of snow on the ground, that it was always pristine and white, and that it didn't get dirty from road grime and all kinds of other things there. But I've learned some pretty cool things about snow too. Things that I didn't know or had no clue about. For example, that after a thick blanket of snow has covered the ground, how quiet it gets. And just this silence that sweeps through the neighborhood and through the surroundings. Last week we talked about silence and solitude, and it's that craving of silence that we can get after a nice snowfall. One of the other things that I've learned about snow is how bright it gets after a nice snowfall. You can go out at nighttime and it almost feels like you can walk around with nothing, no light source, and it's bright. But by far my favorite thing about snow is how it gives everything a fresh start, a clean slate. It's this great equalizer. It doesn't matter if you have the best yard in the neighborhood or one that needs some TLC. Once it's covered in a nice blanket of snow, then it looks clean, it looks pure, it looks fresh. It's refreshing. A fresh start, a new start. And what I think is really important for us to know as we're going through this journey on the ruthless elimination of hurry, and the past week and then these next few weeks we're talking about some spiritual disciplines and how that happens, is that God has given us a built-in way every single week to have a fresh start. A built-in fresh snowfall to be able to start fresh, to have a clean slate. It's called the Sabbath. Now, if you're familiar at all with the Sabbath, you might think of it as this thing that, oh yeah, that's this Old Testament concept. That was for the Jews, and it's not really for us. But I want to challenge that thinking a little bit today. Sabbath, it comes from this word Shabbat, which means to stop. To stop. And in a life and in a world that just kind of goes, we have to force ourselves often to stop. Because we have this insatiable desire to continue to want more, to strive for more, that there's never enough. Whether it's stuff, whether it's accolades, maybe it's popularity. We can't get enough. There's this whole idea and this concept where you can never have enough, and you want to have more. And with it, we usually think about it in regards to addiction. And whenever someone gets their first high, they want to try to reach after that again, but our brain adjusts and our mind adjusts and our body adjusts so that you need more the second time around. And we usually think about that from a chemical dependency standpoint. But I think that's the case in everything in life. Whether it's food, and what used to be enough to get you really excited isn't enough anymore. Experiences, what used to be enough to make you feel like, oh, this is great, it's not enough. And so we strive after this, and we're finite people looking for something to fill our lives infinitely, but it's not there. And so we go into the point where we hit a wall, until we hit a breaking point, and we think, how did we get here? You might have heard that every system is perfectly designed to get the results that it gets. And so when we find ourselves at this point of breaking, when we find ourselves in this place where we can't handle anymore, maybe it's because the system that we've built into our lives is producing perfectly the results that it was built for. That we find ourselves in this place where sometimes, because we don't stop, we don't Shabbat, we're forced to, by our bodies, by our minds. My hope for you would be this, that for you, unlike me, that you would find yourself in a place where let me fix this real quick. You would stop before you are forced to stop. Before the things around you make you stop. This idea of Shabbat. We see that God, He demonstrates this by He Himself resting. We see this in the book of Genesis. Right in the very beginning of the creation account. And there, it says, by the seventh day, God had finished the work He had been doing. So on the seventh day, He rested from all His work. I think it's easy for us to look at our week and look at our lives and say, yeah, I can't stop. I can't rest. You don't understand. I've got too much going on. I'm working on a degree. I've got my kids. I've got life. I've got sports. I've got so many things going on. But do you hear that? God rested. Are we saying that we're higher than God? That we're stronger than God? God rested. It continues in that, and he just says, and God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it He rested from all the work of creating that He had done. He blessed that day. Just like He blessed humanity, He blessed a day for you and for me. The Sabbath is actually the only spiritual discipline that we find in the Ten Commandments as well. In the Ten Commandments, we see these in two different places. The first time that they're told to us is in Exodus chapter 20, and this is just after the Hebrews had been rescued from slavery, from being in Egypt for about 400 years and being slaves for generation after generation after generation, and not knowing what freedom was, not knowing how to govern themselves, not knowing what it meant to be able to lead themselves. So God gives them these laws. He gives them these commands for them to be able to know and learn how to live on their own without a slave master, without a taskmaster over them. And one of the things he says is this. He says, remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. Remember the Sabbath day. As slaves, they had never experienced a day of rest. When you're a slave, you don't get a day off. You don't get a day of freedom. You don't get a day to relax. You just simply have to work. And so God is telling them, He's explaining to them, no, you need a day to rest. Then fast forward 40 years, and they're reminded of these same 10 commandments. Moses reminds them a second time. But now that first generation that had been there, that had been slaves, they're gone. And in Deuteronomy chapter 5, this second telling of the 10 commandments, the language changes just a little bit. Moses says this as he's quoting. He says, observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. Observe the Sabbath day. It's shifted now at this point of just saying, hey, here's something that you need to do. Now there seems to almost be this human nature component that's pushing against wanting to observe the Sabbath day. This command to stop, to pause, to take joy, to rejoice, which is this other idea and this other piece of Shabbat. To be able to take joy in, to stop and take joy in your day, in your life. Can you imagine what it would feel like to be able to once a week have a built-in stop, a built-in pause, to be able to enjoy and celebrate life. But sometimes we have to be forced to do that. There have been many times with my kids as they've grown up that they would reach a point in the day, maybe in the evening, where they've pushed themselves and pushed themselves and pushed themselves. They didn't take a nap, and they're exhausted. And usually what can happen is they reach a breaking point where there's tears involved, there's sometimes anger and crying and screaming, and I have to just take them and wrap my arms around them and hold them to try to calm them down as they fight back, and just hold them, to force them to stop, to force them to slow down. And almost every time they fight against it and say, I don't want to stop. I don't want to take a nap. But when I hold them long enough, you know what happens? They fall asleep. Because when a kid gets cranky, we say, are they hungry? Are they healthy? Are they sick and not feeling well? Or do they just need a nap? I wonder if for some of us the most spiritual thing we could do right now is just take a nap and rest. In Psalm 23, a famous psalm that many of you might be familiar with, it starts off just by saying, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. But then he says this, he makes me lie down in green pastures. This idea that God has to make us lie down, to force us to stop because we have this thing that combats against us. Or that this human nature piece that we combat against that idea of being slow and slowing down for that. But this is a gift that we are given. The Sabbath. A built-in day that we have to be intentional about. And it's not easy because if we're going to take a 24-hour period to actually just stop and slow down, we have to prepare ahead of time. We have to be able to trust God ahead of time. The Hebrew people had to trust God. They didn't have refrigeration. They couldn't just on the Sabbath pop a Hot Pocket in the microwave and go from there. They had to trust. They had to plan the same way that we would. But for a long time, there became this legalistic view of the Sabbath that Jesus combated against when he says this in Mark. He says, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Because the Pharisees at this point got to a place where they were just treating the Sabbath as this thing where man was created for it. We were to obey and we were to fulfill that. But I don't think we have to struggle with this legalistic view of Sabbath anymore. Now it's the first part of that verse that we need to be reminded of. The Sabbath was made for man. The Sabbath was made for you. The Sabbath was made for me so that we could function, so that we could be healthy, so that we could be strong, so that when Thursday is hard and Friday is difficult, that we could say, oh, the Sabbath is coming. And then when we start our week back, on Monday and Tuesday, whatever it is, that we could be refreshed because we've experienced Sabbath. You know, it doesn't have to be a Saturday as it was for the Jews, but this idea of Sabbath. But instead what we do is we push and we push and we push. And my fear is this. That when we see Jesus says, what good will it be for a man if he gains the whole world yet forfeits his soul? This is recorded in also the book of Luke and said, where he loses his very self. What if all we do is we push in this life and all we do is we strive to go and move, but we lose our very selves? So maybe what we need isn't more stuff, isn't another thing, but we just need the time to enjoy the stuff that we have and the people around us.
consecrated, Lord, to thee. When the wrong beat its way, and I hear the sound of the crashing waves, all my world is washing out to sea. Hidden safe in the God, living good, holding fast to the promise of the truth that you are holding tight and still believe. And His word is true. The rock won't move and His love can't be undone. No, the rock won't move and His word is strong. The rock won't move and His love can't be undone. The rock of our salvation. My hope is found in the promise of your love. Merciful within the raging flood. Even in the tempest I can see. I'm hidden safe in the God who never moves, holding fast to the promise of the truth that you are holding tight and still. No, the rock won't move and His word is strong. The rock won't move and His love can't be undone. The rock won't move and His word is strong. The rock won't move and His love can't be undone. The rock of our salvation. Whoa, sing it out on Christ. On Christ, the solid rock, I stand. All other ground is sinking sand. Oh, the rock won't move. No, the rock won't move. When darkness seems to hide His face, I rest on His unchanging grace. Oh, the rock won't move. No, the rock won't move. Christ, the solid rock, I stand. All other ground is sinking sand. Oh, the rock won't move. The rock won't move. Darkness seems to hide His face. I rest on His unchanging grace. Oh, the rock won't move. The rock won't move. The rock won't move and His word is strong. The rock won't move and His love can't be undone. The rock won't move and His word is strong. The rock won't move and His love can't be undone. The rock won't move and His word is strong. The rock won't move and His love can't be undone. The rock won't move and His word is strong. The rock won't move and His love can't be I come